The sun god was bleeding gold onto her research papers, and the worst part? Evelyn couldn't stop staring at his mouth. Sue collapsed against the desk in the empty archive room of Seoul's National Museum, his leather jacket torn, ink-black tattoos visible through the shredded fabric. Phoenix wings stretched across his shoulders, moving like they were alive, his perfect face twisted in pain that seemed older than time itself. "You need to leave." Evelyn's voice came out breathless. "Wrong." She pressed back against the filing cabinets, putting distance between them even as every nerve in her body screamed to move closer. "Can't." His eyes, ancient and desperate, locked onto hers. "They're coming for you. The gumiho. She knows about the mark." Evelyn's fingers flew to her collarbone where the phoenix burns had appeared 2 days ago. The skin felt hot, pulsing with a rhythm that matched his labored breathing. This is insane. You show up, tell me I'm cursed, and now I'm running out of time." Sue pushed himself upright, swaying. The fluorescent lights flickered as he moved, shadows pooling around him like water. 4 days, Evelyn. 4 days before you're trapped in immortality, and I finally... His voice cracked. "I finally get to die." The casual way he said it made Evelyn's chest constrict. She'd spent 72 hours trying to convince herself he was delusional, but golden blood didn't lie. Neither did the way museum artifacts hummed when he walked past, or how she'd started dreaming in a language dead for 3,000 years. "Why me?" The question escaped raw and unfiltered. "You said you've been searching. There are billions of people." "Your soul called to me." Sue moved closer, each step deliberate despite his injuries. The scent of ozone and summer heat rolled off him, making Evelyn's head swim. "The moment you touched that bronze mirror in storage, I felt it, like finding something I'd lost before." He stopped inches away, too close, not close enough. Before time had a name, Evelyn should have moved, run. Instead, she tilted her chin up as he invaded her space, so close she could see flecks of actual sunlight swimming in his irises. That's not an answer." "No?" His hand came up slowly, giving her time to retreat. When she couldn't, his fingers traced the phoenix mark on her collarbone. The touch seared through her thin blouse, lightening up her spine. Evelyn's breath hitched, lips parting. "You're bleeding on my dissertation." "Liar." Sue's thumb pressed against her pulse point, counting each frantic beat. "You're not worried about your papers." Heat flooded Evelyn's face, her body. Don't what?" His voice dropped, rough velvet against her senses. "Don't notice how you lean into my touch? Don't feel how your heart races when I'm close?" Sue's other hand found her hip, thumb stroking small circles through the fabric of her skirt. "Don't want you the way I've wanted. Nothing else for 3,000 years?" Evelyn's hands came up to push him away, somehow ended up fisted in his jacket instead, feeling the warmth of his skin beneath. "This is crazy. You're crazy. I don't even know me." He leaned in, mouth hovering near her ear. "You know me, Evelyn. Your body remembers even if your mind doesn't. Why else are you shaking?" Because she was. Trembling like she'd been caught in a storm, and the terrifying part? Evelyn didn't know if it was fear or something infinitely more dangerous, but here's what she didn't know yet, what Sue was still hiding behind those desperate, ancient eyes. The curse wasn't just about immortality, it was about hunger, an insatiable, consuming need that grew stronger the closer they became, and he'd already started feeding. Before we continue, if you want to see just how dark Sue's obsession goes and whether Evelyn survives the next 4 days, subscribe now. This bond? It's only getting more dangerous. The archive room door rattled. They sprang apart. Evelyn's back hit the filing cabinet hard enough to bruise. Sue moved in front of her, every muscle in his body coiled tight. Predatory. She's in there. A woman's voice drifted through, silk over steel. "I can smell the bond forming. How sweet. The mighty Himosu finally found someone stupid enough to love him." Sue's entire body went rigid. His hand shot out, gripping Evelyn's wrist with bruising intensity. Possessive. "Stay. Behind. Me. I don't take orders. Evelyn." He turned his head slightly, and the look in his eyes froze her blood. Pure primal terror. "Please." She'd never heard him say please before. The door didn't open. It exploded. Blue flame licked across the threshold, and the gumiho walked through it like a queen through her court. Ji-won was devastating. Korean features framed by silver hair that moved like living silk, 9 foxtails writhing behind her in smoke and ethereal fire. Her smile was all teeth and promises of violence. Evelyn Park. The way Ji-won said the name made it sound like a death sentence. Brooklyn-born, Jamaican roots, doctorate candidate in mythology, you really thought you could research our world without consequences? Those fox eyes gleamed with amusement. How deliciously naive. Ji-won. Sue shifted, keeping himself between them. "Walk away. This isn't your fight." "Oh, but it is." The gumiho circled them slowly, deliberately, tails leaving scorch marks on the concrete floor. "The curse transfers at dawn in 4 days. If she loves you willingly, she takes your place. If she doesn't..." Ji-won's ancient eyes slid to Evelyn, hunger naked in them. "Well, I've always wanted immortality, and you, sweet thing, are about to become very powerful and very, very alone." The phoenix mark on Evelyn's collarbone erupted in searing heat. She gasped, knees buckling. Sue caught her against his chest before she hit the ground, one arm banding around her waist. His heart hammered. Against Evelyn's spine. Too fast, too desperate, too human for a god. "Touch her again," Sue said softly, each word dripping violence. "And immortal or not, I will end you." "You're dying, Himosu." Ji-won's smile widened. "Every moment near her accelerates the transfer. You're literally killing yourself playing hero." The gumiho laughed, sharp and cruel. How romantic, how pathetically stupid. The words hit like a physical blow. Evelyn felt Sue tense, felt the truth of it in the way his grip tightened. "You're dying faster? Because of me?" His silence screamed louder than any answer. "Oh, this is perfect." Ji-won's tails writhed with glee. "She didn't even know. What else haven't you told her, sun god? About the blood bond requirement? The sacrificial ritual?" The gumiho's voice dropped to a purr. "The fact that you've been manipulating every single moment since she touched that mirror? Get out." Power rolled off Sue in waves. The lights exploded in showers of sparks. Archive boxes ignited with golden flame. The air itself seemed to bend around his rage. "Now," Ji-won vanished in a plume of blue smoke, but her voice lingered like poison. 4 days, Evelyn. Choose wisely, love the monster or become one yourself. Either way." That terrible laugh echoed off the burning walls. "I'll be waiting to claim what's left." The silence after was worse than the threats. Evelyn pulled away from Sue. This time he let her go immediately, hands dropping like she'd burned him. The loss of his warmth felt like betrayal. What did she mean? Evelyn's voice shook. She hated it, hated the fear, hated the part of her that still wanted to step back into his arms. Manipulating. Sue. What did she mean? He turned away, shoulders tight under his ruined jacket. The phoenix tattoos writhed with each ragged breath. When Sue finally spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. "Everything. I haven't told you everything." "Then start talking." "If I do?" He glanced back, and the devastation in his eyes nearly shattered her. "You'll hate me, and I'll deserve it. But you'll also understand why..." Sue's hands clenched into fists. "Why I can't let you go even though I should." Evelyn's research papers were covered in gold blood. The phoenix mark on her skin burned like a brand. And despite every warning bell screaming in her head, she heard herself say, "Try me." Sue turned fully then, and something in his expression made Evelyn's stomach drop. "The mirror you touched. I placed it in storage 3 months ago. Made sure it was misfiled, knew you'd find it eventually. His voice was hollow, dead. The fellowship that brought you to Seoul? I influenced the selection committee. The apartment in Gangnam? I own the building. Each confession landed like a blow. Every coffee shop where we accidentally met, every late night you stayed at the museum and found me waiting, every— Stop. Evelyn's vision blurred. Stop talking. You wanted the truth. The truth? Evelyn laughed, sharp and broken. The truth is, you've been playing me like a puppet for months. Everything, every moment I thought was chance or fate or— Her voice cracked. Did you make me feel this way too? Is that part of the curse? No. Sue stepped toward her. Evelyn stepped back. Pain flashed across his face. Evelyn, no. What you feel is real. What I feel— How would I know? Tears burned hot down Evelyn's cheeks. How would I know what's real when you've orchestrated everything? Because I'm dying! The words exploded out of Sue. Because being near you is killing me faster and I still can't stay away. Because I've lived 3,000 years and never— His voice broke. Never felt anything like what I feel when you look at me. Not in all my immortal existence. Evelyn wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to. 4 days, she whispered. What happens in 4 days if I don't? If I can't? Then at dawn, the curse finds another host. Sue dragged a hand through his hair, streaks of gold smearing across the black. And I finally die. But Evelyn, you need to understand something else. Something worse. Evelyn's heart stopped. What? Sue's eyes met hers, and in them she saw utter despair. The bond we're forming, it's not just magical. It's a blood bond, and I've already taken the first taste. What do you mean, first taste? Evelyn's voice came out strangled. Sue stood across the burning archive room, gold blood still staining his hands, looking at her like she was both salvation and damnation. The night you had that nightmare, 3 days ago. His jaw clenched. You woke up with bite marks on your wrist, thought you'd scratched yourself in your sleep. Evelyn's hand flew to her left wrist. The marks had faded, but she remembered. 2 small crescents that had burned for hours. That was you! I didn't mean to, I swear I didn't. Sue's voice fractured. You were dreaming, calling out in pain. The curse was trying to take hold early, and I thought if I could just anchor you to this realm. He looked away. I took too much, tasted your blood, and now the bond. It's accelerating everything. The room spun. Evelyn gripped the filing cabinet for support. You bit me. You drank my blood without asking. Yes, no excuses, no justifications, just that single damning word. Get out! Evelyn's voice shook with rage, with betrayal, with something that felt dangerously close to grief. Get out of my sight before Before you what? Sue's laugh was bitter, broken. Before you hate me more than you already do? Too late, Evelyn. But here's the thing about blood bonds. They don't care about consent. They don't care about what's right. He moved closer, and she saw the hunger in his eyes now, raw and desperate. They only care about completion, and we're halfway there whether you want it or not. Halfway to what? Halfway to becoming mine. The possessiveness in his voice should have terrified her. Instead, heat pooled low in Evelyn's stomach, unwanted and infuriating. The first taste binds your blood to me, creates a tether. The second taste— Sue's eyes dropped to her mouth, then back to her wrist. The second taste binds your soul, completes the bond, and once that happens, there's no breaking it, not even in death. Evelyn's breath caught. And you need my soul to break the curse. No. He was right in front of her now, close enough that she could feel the heat radiating off his skin. I need your soul because without it, I'll spend whatever's left of my immortality wanting you and never having you. And that, Evelyn? His fingers ghosted along her jawline. That's a fate worse than death. She should have slapped him, pushed him away. Instead, Evelyn found herself leaning into his touch, hating herself for it. "You're insane." "Probably." Sue's thumb traced her bottom lip. "But you're still here, still listening, still—" His other hand settled on her hip, pulling her flush against him. "Still trembling for me. That's the bond talking, not me." "Is it?" His mouth hovered over hers, close enough to taste. "Then why did you grip my jacket earlier instead of pushing me away? Why does your heart race every time I say your name?" Sue's voice dropped to a whisper. "Why are you looking at my mouth right now like you want me to kiss you despite everything I've done?" Because she did. God help her, she did. And that terrified her more than any curse. What Evelyn didn't understand yet, what Sue was gambling everything on, was that the blood bond worked both ways. Every drop of her blood he consumed made him more human, more mortal, more hers. He wasn't just stealing her soul. He was trading his divinity for the chance to feel what it meant to be holy, desperately, devastatingly in love. "I hate you," Evelyn whispered, but her hands had fisted in his jacket again. "I know." Sue's forehead pressed against hers. "Hate me all you want. Just don't—" The museum alarm shrieked to life. They jerked apart as emergency lights flooded the archive room in pulsing red. Smoke from the scattered fires had triggered the sprinkler system. Cold water cascaded down, instantly soaking them both. "We need to move." Sue reached for Evelyn's hand. She pulled back instinctively, then saw his expression, raw hurt he tried to hide. Something in her chest cracked. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But maybe... Understanding that this beautiful, ancient, desperate creature was just as trapped as she was. Evelyn took his hand. Sue's fingers closed around hers like she'd given him absolution. "Thank you. Don't. I still—" Evelyn's throat tightened. "I still hate what you did." "I know." He pulled her toward the emergency exit. "But you're still here." "Yeah, well." Evelyn squeezed his hand once, hating how right it felt. "I'm clearly an idiot." "No, you're—" Sue stopped, turned to face her fully. Water streamed down his face, and in the red emergency lighting, he looked almost human, almost breakable. "You're the first person in 3,000 years who looked at a monster and chose to see the man underneath." "Sue—" Footsteps echoed in the hallway outside, multiple sets, coming fast. "She's in there with the sun god," a male voice called. "Seal the exits. Don't let her leave the building." Sue's entire demeanor changed. The vulnerability vanished, replaced by something ancient and utterly lethal. His tattoos began to glow, phoenix wings spreading across his shoulders in golden light. He positioned himself in front of Evelyn, every line of his body screaming protection. "How many?" Evelyn whispered. 6, all Bulgasari, Iron Eaters." He glanced back at her. "Jiwon hired mercenaries." "What do they want?" "You, alive if possible, dead if necessary." Sue's hands clenched into fists. "If they can't steal the curse, they'll destroy the vessel before anyone else can claim it." The emergency exit door buckled inward. Once. Twice. On the third impact, it exploded off its hinges. The creature that stepped through wasn't human. It stood 7 feet tall, body covered in metallic scales that gleamed like polished steel. Its eyes glowed red in the emergency lighting, and when it smiled, Evelyn saw rows of iron teeth. "Little bird," its voice sounded like grinding metal. "The gumiho sends her regards." 2 more Bulgasari filled the doorway behind the first. Then 3 more crowded in behind them. 6 total. All focused on Evelyn with predatory intensity. Sue stepped forward, power rolling off him in visible waves. "Last chance to walk away." The lead Bulgasari laughed. "We heard you were dying, sun god. Heard your power's been bleeding out for weeks now." It cracked its knuckles, the sound like hammer strikes. "Let's test that theory." They attacked as one. Sue moved like violence incarnate. His fist connected with the first Bulgasari's jaw, and the creature went flying backward into its companions. Golden fire erupted from Sue's hands, scorching two more. But Evelyn saw the cost. His movements were slower than they should be, weaker. Each attack left him more winded. He was dying right in front of her. Two Bulgasari broke away from the main fight, circling around Sue, heading straight for Evelyn. She scrambled backward, but her foot caught on scattered papers. Evelyn went down hard, skull cracking against the concrete floor. Stars exploded across her vision. The nearest Bulgasari loomed over her, iron claws extended. "Nothing personal, little bird." Then Sue was there, grabbing the creature by its throat. Blood, gold and too bright, poured from his nose, his ears. He was burning through what little life he had left. "Touch her," he snarled, voice barely recognizable, "and I'll show you what a dying god can still do." He tore the Bulgasari's head clean off. The body collapsed, metallic blood spraying across the floor. The 5 remaining Bulgasari actually stepped back, fear flickering across their inhuman faces. But Evelyn saw what they couldn't, saw Sue swaying on his feet, saw his hands shaking, saw the way golden blood now streamed from his eyes like tears. He had minutes left, maybe less. And suddenly, impossibly, Evelyn realized something that made her blood run cold and her heart race in equal measure. She couldn't let him die. Not like this, not for her, not when she could feel through their half-formed bond how much he... The lead Bulgasari charged. The other 4 followed, coordinating their attack. Sue raised his hands to defend, but Evelyn saw the exhaustion in every line of his body. He wouldn't survive this. Her vision blurred, not from tears, from rage, from desperate, terrifying certainty. Evelyn grabbed a shard of broken glass from the floor, pressed the edge against her wrist, right over where Sue had bitten her 3 days ago. The old marks flared hot, recognizing what she was about to do. "Sue!" she screamed. "Catch!" He turned just as she dragged the glass across her skin. Blood, her blood, welled up crimson and bright. Evelyn held her wrist out toward him as the Bulgasari closed in. For one frozen moment, Sue just stared, horror and hunger warring in his expression. "Do it," Evelyn gasped. "Take the second taste. Complete the bond." "Evelyn, no, you don't know what you're... I know you're dying." Her voice cracked. "I know I should hate you. I know this is insane, but I also know..." The words caught in her throat. "I can't watch you die. So either drink or we both go down. Your choice, sun god." The Bulgasari were 3 steps away. 2. Sue moved. He crossed the distance between them in a blur, caught Evelyn's bleeding wrist, and pressed it to his mouth. His eyes locked on hers, asking permission one last time even as his survival instincts screamed for him to drink. Evelyn nodded. Sue's mouth closed over her wound. Power exploded through Evelyn's body. The phoenix mark on her collarbone erupted in blinding light, spreading across her skin like living flame. She felt Sue's life force surging, felt her soul reaching out to his, felt the bond snap into place like a key turning in a lock. Complete, absolute, unbreakable. Sue released her wrist, and when he looked at her, his eyes blazed pure gold. The weakness was gone. Strength poured through him, her strength, her life, her soul feeding his divinity. He turned to face the Bulgasari, and his smile was terrible and beautiful. Round 2. It was over in seconds. Sue moved like the god he'd been for 3 millennia. All hesitation and weakness burned away. The Bulgasari didn't stand a chance. When the last body hit the ground, silence fell over the ruined archive room. Sue stood among the carnage, breathing hard, then slowly turned to face Evelyn. She was on her knees, cradling her bandaged wrist. The phoenix mark covered half her chest now, glowing faintly in the darkness. "Evelyn." Sue's voice shook. "What did you just do?" But she already knew, could feel it in the way her heart now beat in perfect rhythm with his, in the way she could sense his emotions, relief, terror, devotion, guilt, like they were her own thoughts. The second taste had been taken. Her soul was no longer entirely hers. And the worst part? She'd given it willingly. Evelyn woke up tasting gold on her tongue and feeling someone else's heartbeat in her chest. Her eyes snapped open. Unfamiliar ceiling, unfamiliar bed. The scent of ozone and summer heat wrapped around her like a second skin. She bolted upright, and the room spun violently. Easy. A hand pressed against her shoulder, steadying her. The bond takes time to settle. Sue sat on the edge of the bed, too close and somehow not close enough. He'd changed into dark jeans and a black t-shirt that clung to every line of muscle, phoenix tattoos visible down both arms. His hair was damp, pushed back from his face, and his eyes, those ancient, devastating eyes, tracked her every movement like she might disappear. Evelyn shoved his hand away. "Where am I?" "My apartment. Gangnam." He gestured toward the floor-to-ceiling windows. Seoul's skyline glittered in the darkness beyond. Gangnam Tower lit up like a beacon. "You've been unconscious for 6 hours." 6 hours. The museum. The Bulgasari. Her blood on Sue's lips. Evelyn's hand flew to her wrist. The bandage was still there, but when she peeled it back, her breath caught. The wound was gone. Not healing, gone. Replaced by delicate phoenix feathers tattooed into her skin in gold and crimson, matching the larger mark spreading across her collarbone. "It's permanent now." Sue's voice was carefully neutral. "The completed bond leaves marks on both of us." Both of us. Evelyn looked up sharply, and Sue turned, lifting the back of his shirt. A new tattoo sprawled across his shoulder blades. A woman's silhouette wreathed in flames, her hands reaching up toward the phoenix wings that had always been there. "That's me," Evelyn whispered. "That's you." Sue dropped the shirt, turned back around. "Bound to me, written on my skin, permanent as the sun." Something raw flickered in his expression. "I'm sorry." "You're sorry." Evelyn's laugh came out sharp, bordering on hysterical. "You manipulated me for months, bit me without consent, and now I'm literally tattooed on your body and you're sorry?" "Yes." No excuses, no justifications, just that single word, heavy with meaning. The bond between them pulsed, and Evelyn felt it. His guilt, his self-loathing, his desperate wish that he'd been better, done better, been worthy of the gift she'd given him. She hated that she could feel it, hated that it made her anger harder to hold on to. "I need..." Evelyn stood on shaky legs. "I need air, space, something." "There's a balcony through there." Sue pointed toward glass doors on the far wall, but didn't move to follow her. "Take your time. I'll be here when you're ready to talk." When, not if. The certainty in his voice should have irritated her. Instead, it felt like an anchor. Evelyn stepped out onto the balcony, and the night air hit her face like a slap. 30 stories up, Seoul sprawled beneath her in organized chaos. Neon signs, traffic, millions of people living their normal, non-cursed lives. She gripped the railing, knuckles white, and tried to remember what normal felt like. Behind her, through the glass, she could see Sue's reflection. He stood frozen where she'd left him, hands clenched at his sides, looking like he wanted to follow but forcing himself to stay put. The bond hummed between them, even through the wall, his longing, his restraint, his absolute certainty that she was going to walk away. And here's what terrified her most. She didn't want to. Even knowing everything he'd done, everything he was, Evelyn wanted to go back inside. Wanted to understand this beautiful, broken creature who'd traded divinity for the chance at mortality. Wanted to know if the connection burning between them was real or just a trick of blood and magic. 3.5 days to find out. The glass door slid open. Sue stepped onto the balcony, keeping distance between them. "If you want to leave, I won't stop you. I'll arrange protection. Make sure Jiwon can't..." "What happens in 3.5 days?" Evelyn cut him off. "Specifically, walk me through it." Sue leaned against the railing several feet away, giving her space. At dawn on the fourth day, the curse reaches its completion point. If you love me by then, truly, willingly love me, the curse transfers. You take my immortality. I become mortal. We trade places. And if I don't love you, then the curse seeks a new host, probably Jiwon, since she's actively hunting for it. His jaw clenched. I die, and you. He looked at her, devastation clear in every line of his face. You're bound to a dead man's soul for the rest of your life. You'll feel the absence of me like a missing limb. You'll never fully love anyone else, never fully connect. You'll be half alive until you're not. The words hit like physical blows. Evelyn's legs threatened to give out again. You didn't think to mention this before I cut myself open? I tried to stop you. Not hard enough. Evelyn pushed away from the railing, closing the distance between them. You could have knocked me out, used your god powers to... I was dying, Evelyn. Sue's composure cracked. I had maybe 30 seconds left. My brain was shutting down, and yes... He dragged both hands through his hair. Yes, part of me didn't want to stop you. Part of me wanted exactly what you offered. Consequences be damned, because I'm selfish and desperate and so goddamn tired of being alone. The raw honesty in his voice stopped her cold. So what now? Evelyn wrapped her arms around herself. We just wait? Hope I fall in love with you before the timer runs out? The bond doesn't create love. Sue stepped closer, and the air between them felt charged, electric. It amplifies what's already there. Physical attraction, emotional connection, trust. It intensifies everything. But the core feeling has to be real. His voice dropped. So tell me, Evelyn, what do you feel when you look at me? Really feel underneath all the anger? Through the bond, Evelyn felt his desperation for her answer, his terror, his certainty that she was going to destroy him. I feel furious, she said, manipulated, terrified. Pain flashed across Sue's face, but he nodded. And the words caught in her throat. And drawn to you in a way that makes no sense, like even knowing everything you've done, I still want to understand why. Why what? Why me? Evelyn's voice cracked. Why orchestrate months of manipulation when you could have just... Because from the moment I saw you in that museum, I knew. Sue closed the remaining distance between them. Knew you were strong enough to survive this curse. Knew you were stubborn enough to fight me. Knew you were exactly the kind of woman who would cut herself open to save a monster. His hand came up, hovering near her face. I didn't choose you because you were convenient, Evelyn. I chose you because in 3,000 years, you're the only person who ever made me want to be human. Evelyn's breath caught. You can't say things like that. Why not? His fingers finally made contact, cupping her jaw with devastating gentleness. You can feel through the bond that I'm not lying. And she could feel the truth of his words burning between them like a living thing. 3.5 days, Sue continued, his thumb tracing her cheekbone. Give me that. Let me prove this is real. Let me court you properly. No manipulation, no lies, just me trying to earn something I know I don't deserve. His forehead pressed against hers. And if at dawn on the 4th day you still can't love me, then I'll die knowing I at least tried. The bond pulsed with his sincerity, with his terrifying absolute devotion. 3 days, Evelyn whispered, but you answer every question no matter how uncomfortable. Done. And no more manipulation. You court me like a normal person. I'm 3,000 years old. I've never been normal. Then learn fast. Evelyn's hands found his chest, fingers spreading over the phoenix tattoos. His heart raced under her palm, matching the rhythm of her own. Starting now. Sue's expression shifted, something dark and hungry flickering behind his eyes. Can I kiss you? The question was polite. The raw need in his voice was anything but. Evelyn's pulse jumped. Why are you asking? Because last time you were saving my life. I want... His grip on her face tightened slightly. I need to know if you want this, want me, without the desperation. Through the bond, Evelyn felt his restraint, felt how badly he wanted to just take what he was asking for, felt him forcing himself to wait, giving her the choice he'd stolen so many times before. It should have made saying no easier. "Yes," Evelyn whispered. Sue's control shattered. His mouth descended on hers, hot and claiming and absolutely devastating. Nothing gentle about it. His hands tangled in her hair, angling her head exactly where he wanted it as he kissed her like she was oxygen and he'd been drowning for millennia. Evelyn gasped against his lips, and Sue took the invitation, his tongue sweeping into her mouth with possessive hunger. The bond exploded between them. Heat flooded Evelyn's body, his desire and hers tangling until she couldn't tell where she ended and he began. Sue's hand slid down her back, pulling her flush against him, and she felt every hard plane of his body pressed to hers, felt the way he trembled with restraint even as he devoured her mouth. Her fingers found the hem of his shirt, slipping beneath to trace the tattoos covering his abdomen. Sue groaned into the kiss, the sound vibrating through both of them via the bond. His hands dropped to her hips, lifting her effortlessly. Evelyn's legs wrapped around his waist on instinct, and suddenly she was pressed against the balcony railing. 30 stories of empty air at her back and a god's body caging her in from the front. "Evelyn." Sue broke the kiss, breathing hard against her neck. "Tell me to stop." "Why would I do that?" Her voice came out breathless. "Because if you don't—" His teeth scraped against her pulse point, and Evelyn's back arched. "If you don't, I'm going to take you inside and spend the rest of the night showing you exactly how thoroughly you've destroyed me." The promise in his words sent liquid heat pooling low in Evelyn's stomach. Through the bond, she felt his desire, overwhelming, consuming, checked only by the thinnest thread of control. 3 days, she managed. "You said you'd prove this is real." "I will." Sue's mouth moved to her ear. "But right now, all I can think about is how you taste, how you feel, how much I want." He cut himself off with a harsh breath, setting her back on her feet with visible effort. "We should stop." Evelyn's legs shook. "What if I don't want to stop?" "Then I'd be taking advantage." Sue stepped back, putting space between them despite the hunger still burning in his eyes. "You're reeling from the bond, from everything that's happened. I won't—" His hands clenched into fists. "I won't be another choice I steal from you." The words hit her right in the chest. This restraint, this deliberate choice to give her space even when he clearly didn't want to, this was what made her dangerous to him, because it made her want to close the distance herself. Evelyn's phone buzzed from inside, shattering the moment, then buzzed again and again. Sue's expression shifted, something cold and lethal sliding over his features. "How many people have this number?" "Just family and—" Evelyn's stomach dropped. She rushed inside, grabbing the phone from the nightstand. 7 missed calls, all from blocked numbers, and 1 text message that made her blood freeze. "Stop playing house with the sun god, little bird. Dawn comes in 84 hours, and when it does, I'm taking what's mine. Jiwon." Below the message were 3 photos. Evelyn's apartment in Brooklyn, her favorite coffee shop visible across the street, her parents' house in Kingston, Jamaica, her mother's garden in full bloom, her dissertation advisor's office at Columbia, the nameplate clearly visible on the door, everyone she'd ever loved, cataloged and threatened. "No." The word came out broken. "No, no, no." Sue read the message over her shoulder, and the temperature in the room plummeted. The phoenix tattoos on his arms began to glow, power rolling off him in visible waves. "She's threatening them," Evelyn whispered. "Everyone I care about. She can reach them. She can—" "No, she can't." Sue's voice was lethal calm. "Those photos are surveillance. She's showing what she could do, not what she will do. It's a power play." "How do you know?" "Because Jiwon wants the curse. If she kills your family, you'll be too broken to fall in love with me. The curse won't transfer. She'd lose everything." Sue took the phone from Evelyn's shaking hands. She's trying to scare you into running, into breaking the bond before it's complete. It's working, Evelyn admitted. I know. Sue pulled her against his chest, and Evelyn went, too shaken to resist. But here's what Ji-won doesn't understand. Here's the fatal mistake she just made. What mistake? Sue pulled back, tilting Evelyn's face up to meet his eyes. The gold in them was molten, furious, absolutely uncompromising. She gave me a reason to stop holding back, a reason to show her exactly what happens to anyone who threatens what's mine. The possessiveness in his voice should have frightened her. Instead, Evelyn felt something fierce and dangerous unfurl in her chest, something that whispered she wasn't the only one who'd been changed by the bond. Sue was becoming mortal, becoming hers. And maybe that was more terrifying than any curse. 72 hours left, and Sue was teaching Evelyn how to kill a god. Higher. His hand adjusted her stance in the empty training room beneath his apartment. You're aiming for the heart, not the stomach! Evelyn thrust the bronze dagger again, and this time Sue caught her wrist. His grip was firm but careful, mindful of the phoenix marks now permanent on her skin. Better, but you're telegraphing your intention. An immortal will see it coming. Good thing I'm only planning to stab one specific immortal. Evelyn pulled free, breathing hard. They'd been at this for 2 hours, ever since Sue had announced at dawn that if Ji-won wanted a fight, Evelyn needed to be ready for it. What he hadn't said, what pulsed through the bond like a second heartbeat, was that he was terrified of losing her. Sue moved behind her, his body bracketing hers as he adjusted her grip on the dagger. Again, and this time, don't think, just move. His breath ghosted across her neck. Evelyn's pulse jumped, but she forced herself to focus, driving the blade forward. Sue's hand guided hers through the motion, and the intimacy of it, his chest pressed to her back, his arms caging her in, made concentration nearly impossible. You're distracted, Sue murmured against her ear. You're distracting me. Good. His lips brushed her temple. In a real fight, your opponent will use every advantage. Seduction is just another weapon. Evelyn twisted in his arms, pressing the dagger to his throat before he could react. Like that? Surprise flickered in Sue's eyes, followed by something darker, prouder. Exactly like that. His hand came up slowly, fingers wrapping around her wrist, not restraining, just touching. You're learning. I have a good teacher. Evelyn lowered the blade but didn't step back. Couldn't step back. Not when the bond hummed between them like this, electric and demanding. Even if he's an overprotective control freak who won't let me out of his sight. 72 hours, Evelyn. Sue's voice roughened. Forgive me if I want to spend every second of it memorizing you. The raw honesty in his words made her chest tight. Through the bond, she felt his fear, not of dying, but of dying without ever really having her, without earning her love instead of manipulating it into existence. Then stop wasting time teaching me to fight. Evelyn rose on her toes, mouth hovering near his. Take me somewhere. Show me soul. Show me who you are when you're not drowning in desperation. Sue's eyes darkened. We can't just leave. Ji-won could... So we bring backup. Evelyn's fingers traced the phoenix tattoos visible above his collar. You said you'd court me properly. Prove it. Something shifted in Sue's expression. The fear didn't disappear, but determination rose to meet it. His hand caught hers, bringing her fingers to his lips. Okay. But first, he pressed a kiss to her knuckles. You need to meet my family. Family? Sue's smile was sharp and fond at once. The only people in this world who'll tell me when I'm being an idiot. You'll like them. Evelyn hadn't expected Sue's family to be 3 other immortals sitting in a private room at a pojangmatcha in Itaewon, drinking soju like the world wasn't ending in 72 hours. You brought the human. The woman spoke first, stunning, with short black hair and eyes that reflected literal starlight. Bold move, considering Ji-won has a bounty on her head. Minseo, this is Evelyn. Sue's hand settled possessively on Evelyn's lower back, and she felt his anxiety through the bond. He wanted them to like her, needed it. Evelyn, this is Minseo, Bongwang, Phoenix Spirit. She's going to help keep you alive. Charming introduction. Evelyn slid into the booth anyway, meeting. Minseo's assessing gaze directly. Nice to meet you too. Minseo's expression softened slightly. You have spine. I like that. She poured Evelyn a shot of soju. You'll need it if you're planning to bind yourself to this idiot permanently. I'm sitting right here, Sue muttered. We know. The man across from Minseo grinned. Handsome, with silver piercings and tattoos that marked him as Imugi, a lesser dragon. That's what makes it fun. I'm Tai Jun, and this, he gestured to the quiet man nursing whiskey in the corner, is Jae Sung, Josung Saja, Grim Reaper technically, but he's off duty tonight. Jae Sung raised his glass in silent acknowledgement, his dark eyes unreadable. Evelyn took the shot Minseo offered, welcoming the burn. So you're Sue's backup plan? We're his family. Minseo's voice softened. The only ones left who remember what he was like before the curse, before 3,000 years of isolation turned him into, she gestured at Sue, whatever this brooding mess is. Still sitting here, Sue repeated, but there was affection in his voice. Good, then you can hear this. Minseo turned to Evelyn and her expression went serious. He's not going to tell you, so I will. The blood bond? It's killing him faster than the curse would have. Every moment you're connected, his divinity bleeds away. He's trading his godhood for mortality so gradually that by the time you realize what he's done, it'll be too late to stop it. Evelyn's stomach dropped. Sue, it's fine. But his hand trembled slightly where it rested on the table. Through the bond, Evelyn felt the lie, felt his certainty that this trade, his divinity for her survival, was worth any cost. It's the price. I knew what I was doing. Did you? Taejun leaned forward, his casual demeanor gone. Because from where we're sitting, you manipulated this woman into a blood bond, and now you're both on a countdown to either mutual destruction or unprecedented happiness. Those are some dramatic extremes, even for you. And here's what Sue's friends were really asking, what they needed to know before they committed to protecting her. Was Evelyn worth their brother's life? Worth the grief they'd carry if this went wrong? Worth breaking their own hearts over when Sue had already broken his own? He didn't manipulate me into anything. Evelyn's voice came out sharper than intended. Not the bond, I made a choice. Did you? Minseo's eyes were too knowing. Or did he create circumstances where you'd have no choice but to save him? The question hung in the air like smoke. Sue went rigid beside her. Through the bond, Evelyn felt his shame crash over him in waves, his certainty that he'd ruined everything before it even started, that he'd stolen her choices and dressed it up as fate. And suddenly, she understood. These weren't just his friends. They were his conscience. The only people who loved him enough to call him on his mistakes, who'd hold him accountable, even as they stood beside him. Both. Evelyn said finally, meeting Minseo's gaze. He created the circumstances, orchestrated the meeting, the fellowship, probably half the coincidences that brought me here. And yeah, I was manipulated into position. She looked at Sue, holding his stare even as guilt bled through their connection. But when I cut myself open in that museum, when I offered him my blood and told him to drink, her voice steadied. That was all me. Nobody forced my hand. Nobody made me fall for a desperate god with terrible timing and worse decision-making skills. Sue's expression cracked. Raw emotion bled through. Gratitude, wonder, the kind of unworthiness that had haunted him for millennia. Minseo studied Evelyn for a long moment, then slowly raised her glass. Well, maybe you'll survive this after all. They drank. They ate. And slowly Evelyn began to see who Sue had been before desperation had warped him into something darker, quick-witted, fiercely loyal, capable of joy when he let himself feel it. His friends told stories spanning centuries, painting a picture of a protector who'd given everything to keep Korea safe. He once held back a tsunami for 3 days straight, Taejun said, pouring another round. His eyes went distant with memory. Saved an entire coastal village, didn't eat or sleep, just stood there burning through his power because he refused to let those people die. He also once started a war because someone insulted his cooking, Min Seo added dryly. It was good cooking, Sue protested, and Evelyn laughed, actually laughed, at the indignation in his voice. Through the bond, she felt Sue's surprise, his cautious hope that maybe, just maybe, she was seeing him as more than the monster who'd manipulated her, that maybe she was seeing the man he'd been, the man he could still be. There was this one time, Jae-sung spoke quietly, his first words of the night, when Sue found a child ghost, 6 years old, killed in a house fire, too scared to move on. He looked at Sue with something like brotherly affection. He sat with her for 2 weeks, told her stories, sang to her, waited until she was ready to let go. That's who he is underneath all the, he gestured vaguely, the dramatic curse nonsense. Sue's hand found Evelyn's under the table, squeezing once. She squeezed back and felt his emotion through the bond, gratitude that his family was showing her this, terror that it wouldn't be enough. But what Sue's friends didn't say, what Evelyn felt pulsing beneath every story, every laugh, was their fear that this was goodbye, that in 72 hours they'd lose him forever, that this meal was a wake disguised as a celebration. Evelyn's phone buzzed against her thigh. She checked it discreetly and ice flooded her veins. New message, blocked number. Enjoying your last meal? I hope Sue's friends said their goodbyes. In 68 hours, you'll watch him die screaming. And then, little bird, you'll beg me to take the curse just to make the pain stop. Ji-won. Below it, a photo of this restaurant, taken from across the street. Time-stamped 2 minutes ago. They were being watched, right now. Sue. Evelyn's voice came out strangled. She showed him the phone. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees instantly. Sue's eyes flared with power, still gold, still divine, but dimming with every hour that passed. Min Seo was already moving, flames flickering along her fingertips. How close? Jae-sung asked quietly, shadows gathering around him. Close enough to photograph us. Sue pulled Evelyn behind him in one smooth motion. If Ji-won's making her move now instead of waiting for dawn... The restaurant's front window exploded inward in a cascade of glass and blue flame. Ji-won stepped through the inferno like a queen ascending her throne, 9 tails writhing behind her in smoke and ethereal fire. She wasn't alone. 8 Bulgasari flanked her this time, more than before, their metallic bodies gleaming in the firelight. She'd brought an army. Hello, Hemosu. Ji-won's smile was all teeth and promised violence. 68 hours felt like such a long time to wait. I thought we'd settle this now. Her eyes locked on Evelyn with predatory focus. Why wait for dawn when I can just take what I want? Sue moved before anyone could react, putting himself between Evelyn and Ji-won. Power rolled off him in waves, golden and devastating, but Evelyn felt through the bond how much it cost him. Each display of divinity burned through what little he had left. You want her? Sue's voice was lethal calm. You go through me. Gladly. Ji-won's tails lashed out like whips. The fight erupted in chaos and flame. Min Seo launched herself at 3 Bulgasari, phoenix fire scorching metal scales. Tae-jun shifted mid-leap, dragon scales erupting across his body as he tackled 2 more. Jae-sung simply vanished, reappearing behind another Bulgasari with his Reaper's blade already swinging through the creature's neck. But Ji-won only had eyes for Sue. They collided in an explosion of gold and blue flame that shook the building's foundation. Sue's fist connected with Ji-won's jaw with enough force to shatter concrete. The gumiho flew backward, crashed through a wall, and came up laughing. You're weaker than last time. Jiwon's tails wrapped around Sue's throat mid-air, yanking him toward her waiting claws. The bond's eating you alive. How does it feel, watching your divinity bleed away for a human who hasn't even decided if she loves you? Sue's hands caught her tails, golden fire erupting from his palms. She's worth it. Is she? Jiwon's claws raked across Sue's chest, drawing golden blood. Let's test that. Evelyn watched, frozen as Sue fought with everything he had left, but she could feel it through the bond, his power draining with every attack, every defense, the divinity bleeding away like water through cupped hands. He was losing. And suddenly Evelyn understood what Minseo had been trying to tell her, what the bond had been screaming at her since it formed. The curse didn't just need her love to transfer. It needed her absolute, unshakable certainty, her choice, not made out of desperation or manipulation or even gratitude, but made freely, fully, with complete understanding of what she was accepting. It needed her to want him, all of him. Mortality, flaws, desperate manipulation, and all. And standing there, watching Sue bleed gold to protect her, Evelyn realized something that made her heart stop and restart in the same breath. She did want him. Had wanted him since he'd held her in the museum and looked at her like she was worth 3,000 years of loneliness, since he'd taught her to fight this morning with infinite patience, since his friends had shown her the man beneath the monster. She wanted all of it. Wanted him. The realization hit like lightning. Jiwon's claws found Sue's throat. He went down hard, blood pooling beneath him. Through the bond, Evelyn felt his life force guttering like a candle in the wind. Any last words, sun god? Jiwon purred, claws tightening. Sue's eyes found Evelyn across the chaos, and in them she saw acceptance, saw him giving her permission to let go, to save herself, to walk away and find someone who deserved her better than he ever could, saw him loving her enough to die for it. No, the word tore out of Evelyn. No, you don't get to give up on us. She ran, not away, toward, straight through the battle, ducking under Taejun's dragon tail, vaulting over a dying Bulgasari, her feet finding purchase on broken glass and scorched tile. Minseo screamed her name, but Evelyn didn't stop. Couldn't stop. Not when Sue was dying. Not when she finally knew what she wanted. Evelyn dropped to her knees beside Sue, her hands finding his face, forcing him to look at her. Blood, his blood, golden and too bright, covered her fingers. I love you. The words came out fierce and certain and absolutely unshakable. I love you, you manipulative, desperate, beautiful disaster of a god. Her voice cracked. I love that you're terrible at cooking but started wars over it anyway. I love that you held a ghost child for 2 weeks because you couldn't stand her being scared. I love that you're trading divinity for mortality just to be with me for 60 pathetic human years. Tears streamed down her face. I love you, and you're not dying today. Sue's eyes went wide. Evelyn, I choose you. She pressed her forehead to his, feeling his breath stutter against her lips. I choose this. I choose us. I choose the bond, the curse, the manipulation, all of it, because it brought me to you. Her hands trembled against his face. Now take the damn mortality and live. The curse shattered. Light exploded between them, gold and crimson twining together in impossible patterns that burned across Evelyn's vision. She felt it rip through, her body like lightning, immortality flooding her veins like liquid fire, rewriting her cells, expanding her soul beyond human limitations, and felt Sue's divinity drain away in the same breath, leaving him beautifully, perfectly, devastatingly mortal. When the light faded, they knelt in the wreckage of the restaurant, breathing hard. Sue's eyes were no longer gold, just brown, warm, human. His tattoos had stopped glowing, settling into normal ink on mortal skin. His hands, when they reached for Evelyn's face, trembled with exhaustion and wonder. You did it, he whispered. You actually chose. Evelyn kissed him. poured everything she felt through the bond, love, certainty, choice, devotion, into the press of her mouth against his. Sue made a broken sound against her lips, his arms coming around her waist to crush her against his chest. He kissed her back like she was the miracle, not him. Like she was salvation and damnation and everything in between. His tongue swept into her mouth, tasting, claiming, worshiping. Evelyn's hands tangled in his hair, angling his head to deepen the kiss further. She felt his heartbeat, purely mortal now, no divinity to strengthen it, hammering against her chest. Felt his hands shaking as they mapped her body like he was memorizing her through touch alone. Evelyn. Sue broke the kiss, breathing hard, his forehead pressed to hers. I love you. God, I love you so much it terrifies me. Good. She kissed him again, softer this time. Get used to it. You've got 60 years. Ji-won's scream of pure rage shattered the moment. No! The gumiho launched herself at Evelyn, all 9 tails blazing with fury, claws extended. That curse was mine. 3,000 years I waited. Evelyn moved on instinct. The power now flooding her veins responded instantly. She caught Ji-won mid-lunge, and golden fire erupted from Evelyn's hands, hotter and brighter than anything Sue had ever produced. The flames wrapped around Ji-won like chains, stopping the gumiho cold. Wrong, Evelyn said softly, feeling the weight of immortality settling into her bones. It was never yours to take. It was always meant to be given. She released Ji-won, who collapsed to the scorched floor, tails singed and smoking, and I gave it freely. Ji-won looked up at Evelyn, now immortal, now powerful, now the sun goddess in truth rather than title, and for the first time in her ancient existence, fear flickered in her fox eyes. Leave, Evelyn commanded, and felt the power behind the word reverberate through the building. Take what's left of your Bulgasari and don't come back, because if you threaten him again... She glanced at Sue, mortal and bleeding and absolutely hers. If you threaten anyone I love, I'll show you what a newly minted sun goddess can do when she's protecting what's hers. The threat hung in the air like a promise. Ji-won vanished in a plume of blue smoke, her remaining Bulgasari retreating with her into the soul. Night. Silence fell over the ruined restaurant. Then Min Seo started laughing, sharp and bright and genuinely delighted. Well, that was the most dramatic curse-breaking I've ever witnessed. She picked her way through the rubble, flames still dancing along her fingertips. And I've witnessed a lot. Congratulations. Taejun shifted back to human form, grinning despite the blood streaking his face. You just became the most powerful being in Seoul, possibly all of Korea. How does it feel? Evelyn looked down at her hands, now marked with golden phoenix flames that danced across her skin like living tattoos. Looked at the restaurant she'd accidentally destroyed. Looked at Sue, who was watching her with wonder and terror and absolute devotion. Overwhelming, she admitted. I have no idea what I'm doing. None of us did at first. Jae-sung appeared beside them, his reaper's blade already vanishing into shadow. He looked at Sue with something like brotherly affection mixed with exasperation. You're going to need to teach her, and you, he pointed at Sue, are going to need to learn how to be mortal. No more healing instantly, no more going days without sleep. I know. Sue stood on shaky legs, and Evelyn immediately moved to support him. Through their bond, still present, still strong, but different now, she felt his adjustment to mortality, the strange heaviness of a body that could actually die. We'll help, Min Seo said firmly. She looked at Evelyn and her expression softened. You're family now. That means we've got your back. Both of you. All of you. Taejun clapped Sue on the shoulder. Even if you are an idiot who almost got himself killed for love. Worth it, Sue said simply, his eyes never leaving Evelyn's face. Min Seo rolled her eyes, but she was smiling. Come on, let's get you two somewhere safe before the human authorities show up asking questions about the exploded restaurant. They left together. 3 immortals and 2 people bound by love and choice, walking out into the soul dawn. Later, in Sue's apartment with the city lights glittering below, Evelyn stood at the window watching the sun rise. Behind her, she heard Sue moving carefully, still adjusting to his new mortality. "Evelyn." His voice was soft. "Are you okay?" She turned to find him standing in the doorway, mortal and beautiful and absolutely hers. "I'm immortal. You're not. We have maybe 60 years together if we're lucky." She crossed to him, taking his mortal hands in her divine ones. "Ask me if I'm okay." Sue's expression cracked. "Are you?" "I'm perfect." Evelyn kissed him softly. "Because 60 years with you is worth an eternity without you." She pulled back to meet his eyes. "We'll make them count, Sue, every single day." "Every single one," he echoed, voice rough with emotion. He kissed her again as the sun broke over Seoul, marking the dawn of their 4th day, the day the curse had broken, the day she'd chosen mortality for him and divinity for herself, the day they'd traded 3,000 years of loneliness for 60 years of love, the day they'd finally gotten their happy ending, not because the curse demanded it, but because they'd chosen it, together. So Evelyn traded eternity alone for 60 years with Sue. And honestly, I think she got the better deal. What about you? Would you choose immortality or a mortal lifetime with your soulmate? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you loved watching Evelyn claim her power and her man, hit that like button and subscribe for more Afro-Korean fantasy romance. Trust me, we're just getting started with these stories.